Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Menachot daf Kuf Zayin. We're going to begin on Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph, almost in the middle of the Amud by the first Mishnah. The person says Harle Yayin, that I'm going to bring Yayin for Nesachim. Lo Yivchos Mishloish Lugin. So at the very least, it should be 3 lug. Can't be less than that. Shemen, if a person says, I'm going to bring oil, so in that situation we say, Liachos malug. Then it can't be less than a lug. Okay. Rashi says, why a lug? The chazil minchas nedava. Because even 1 lug is enough for a minchas nedava. And it's like the shita of Rav Tarfin that says, af misnadvin shemen, that you could give a nadav of oil. All you need is a lug. Rabbi Yomi shlosh lugin. Rabbi says no, you actually need to have 3. And then pirashti v'eni ma pirashti yavi kiyay maruba. So let's say he said, I know I was going to designate some oil, I was going to designate some wine, give some wine. I can't remember how much I said. So you have to give according to the largest amount of a particular day. And the Gemara is going to explain how much that is and what day that is. So Tanurbanan, the pasuk says Ezrach regarding the parsha of the Sachim. It says Kol Ezrach Yasek Kacha, which is an extra pasuk. So with Malamed, since it's extra, it teaches us Shemis Nadvin Yayin, that a person can give a nadava free will of giving just wine, and even without a carbon. V'kama shloish lugin. U'minayin shim ratzul ha'isiv yosef. How do you could do more than that? Because Talmud Loimer, yeah. The pasuk says yeah, which over there it says kachem kiger ke'ezrach yeah mashmi yelochem oy nesachem achrini, which means you could also do more if you like. So yachol yivchais, maybe you can do even less than the 3 lug. Talmud Loimer kacha, so it's got to be at least 3. Shemen livchas min halug Rabbi Omer shloish lug. So we have this machlokas whether or not it could be 1 lug or it has to be at least 3 lug when it comes to oil. So, but my kamifki. So, what is the machlokas? Amru rana kamei the Rab Papa b'dain mino mina b'dain mina v'oikim basar kamifki. Question is, when you learn out one thing from the other, does that mean now you learn everything from it, all of its details, or only in its own context? And this is how we understand this. Of course, this is a machlokas we've seen in so many places. Rabbanan Sabri Dain Mina Umina. The Rabbanan say, who again hold that you can just give 1 lug of oil, says you can learn it out. What is that? Says Rashi, the shemen deba nadava. The fact that you can give shemen as a nadava, gamrina minchas nadava. We learn that when it comes to a mincha. That just like you can give a mincha as a nadava, you can also give shemen as a nadava as well. So ma mincha, just like when it comes to giving a mincha for misnadvin, av shemenami misnadvin. So that's the one point you can give as a gift just shemen and umina. And then once we're learning it out for mincha, we learn out more. Ma mincha belug, just like when it comes to a mincha, the amount of oil that's put into it is a lug. So av shemen belug. So too when it's separate, you can just give a lug. Rabbi Savar, no. Don mino v'uki batra. You have to keep it in its own context. Ma mincha misnadvin av shemenami misnadvin. That I agree. That you can give shemen as a nadava. However, v'uki batra, kinesachim. Ma nesachim shloishes lugin, av shemen nami shloishes lugin. No. You have to compare it to nesachim. When it comes to the nesachim, libations of shemen that come by itself, it's going to be comparable to yayin. And we just said when it comes to yayin, which you can give separately, everyone agrees it's got to be 3 lugin. So here it's also 3 lugin. Okay. Armulahu Rapapa, if that's the case, Mincha Gamarla, the owner from Mincha. So Rabbi to call Yamalu Pligi Damina Mimina. You should talk and be able to learn out straight through. And just like Mincha, you only use a log of shemen, so too by itself. So, Elo, what is the machlokas? Rabbi Ezrach Gamarla. The question is, based on this pasuk, says Rashi, Ki heicha de gamrin el yayin, just like we went out from the pasuk of Ezrach, so too hachanami gamar Rabbi Ezrach malamish masnadvin shema b'dan mina konachasim shloish lugin. So basically, he's saying that we learn out the whole notion of being able to give wine as the nedava from ha'ezrach. And we know, as we said, it's got to be at least 3 of wine. So too, it's going to be the same thing, because we're learning out from there 3 of oil, according to him at least. Amalei Rav Kahuna, Bereda Rav Nasan, Rav Papa, Mimos Asamid. How can you say it? Basanya, carbon, the pasuk says carbon, Molamed, Shemisnad ben Shemen. Give oil. Vikama Shloishas Lugin. It's got to be 3. So, Man Shemen Le, the Omer Shloishas Lugin. Who's the sheet that says 3? Rabbi. He actually learns it out from a different pasuk. Tanya. Okay, fine. If that's how you learn it, it's how you learn it. Okay. Pirashti v'enu odea pirashti. This is only a one-liner, but it's going to need a little bit of work. Even though there's no Rashi here, actually. So you designated wine or oil, but you didn't remember how much. Yavi kiyom meruba, the biggest amount. Tana kiyom tev shol harishan shel chag shechol yis b'Shabbos. It's the first day of Sukkot that fell on Shabbos. Now over here, we don't see any Rashi, which should have been probably a good Rashi to have. I'm not sure if if you look on the bottom over here, you have the Rabbeinu Gershon. It says Dahavi Yud Gimel Parim, right? So there was on the first day of Sukkot, which was also on Shabbos, you had 13 Parim, in which there was 6 lug per par. So that ends up being 13 times 6 is 78. V'Yud Dal Kvasim. There's 14 Kvasim, and the Kvasim had 3 each, so that's another 42. Let's hold cups, that's 78 plus 42. And then Ubeis Elim V'Sa'ir, Ubeis Tamidin, Ubeis Musafin Shel Shabbos. So what is that? So you have 4 each for the 2 Elim, which is another 8. 3 each for the Shnei Kvasim of Shabbos Musaf, which is 2 times 3 is 6. 3 each for the 2 lambs of the Karbanos Tamid. 2 times 3 is 6. So if you add all those together, 78 plus 42 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8 equals 140 lug. That is the number. Okay, the Gemara doesn't say that, but that's the amount. Okay, let's look at question 1. So he said you have to give the most amount, which is the first day of Sukkot, which falls on Shabbos, and it says there's never any more. And actually, over here he quotes it's the Rambam that says 140 lug, based on the interpretation. Hopefully, our upcoming test, they're not going to ask me how to get to that 140 number. That would be difficult. Question TA26, same question. Pirashti v'enodia ma pirashti yavi kiyom maruba ma yoim maruba. So that, of course, is Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag Shechol Yos B'Shabbos, and that's the whole answer, which is very fair, a very fair answer. So that's TA26. And let's see if TB29, same question. Ma Yom Maruba, Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag HaSukkos Shechol Yos B'Shabbos. Beautiful, got it right. So that's Kuv Zayin Amud Aleph. That's TB29. Okay, let's take a look at the next Mishnah. So, Harei Lai Oila. So, a person says, I'm going to bring a carbon oila. So, Yavi Keves. So, the least of all the kvasim, because you didn't specify, of all the olos is a keves, is a sheep. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer Otor O Ben Yoina. Actually, it's not true, because there's such a thing as an also oaf. So maybe it's even a turtle dove or a dove. Okay. Pirashti min habakar. So you specify, I wanted to give cattle. However, in Yodea ma pirashti, I forgot exactly what type of cattle. So you'll be part of egel. So you have to bring a bull and a calf, because a bakar is clear that it's a zachar. Says Rashi, Mikol mini behema hazacharim gedolim, and it says gedolim ukatanim dainu parv egel. Oh, okay, fine. So in that case, in the day my pirashti, where am I again? So again, that's the din. So you have to bring yavi parv egel. Min habehema, If instead all you said was an animal, which does not just include a bakar or a large animal, right? So in that situation, because you didn't specify it being like a bakar, which is a large animal, which again it would only be a par and egel. So instead, a male cow, whatever, or bull, a bull, or its calf, its young. But since over here, it's again you said mina behema, which that is a lashon of zachar, and therefore you have to bring every single male animal, whether it's a bull or a calf, ram, goat, kid, sheep. Pirashti v'eni ma pirashti. Let's say a person said, I specified, I don't even remember anything, which therefore it could include any carbon basically. So moisav Torah uben yoina. So in that case, we're going to tack on birds because maybe that was part of the equation. So you have to bring those two. Harilai toida the shlomim. You say I definitely made a declaration to bring a carbon toda and a shlomim. So in that case, yavi keves. So you can bring a keves. So just like as we said, when it comes to harilai oila yavi keves, so too when it comes to a toida and a shlomim, a keves is the least of all these carbonos of a carbon toda or a shlomim. You could bring a keves. Pirashti min bakar. Again, when it comes to a toida or shlomim, I said it was a bakar. The end of the my pirashti yavi par upar egel ve'egla. So as opposed to a carbon ola, which has to be male, right? That's not because of the word behema. An ola is always a male carbon. However, when it comes to a toida or shlomim, it can be male or female. So therefore, because of that, now you have to include a cow as well as a female calf. So here, it's not just a bakar, right? Well, bakar is some type of a cattle, which is like a bull or a cow or its young. However, once you just say the word behema, so that's including more than just cattle. But also now, ayil v'rachla, you have to bring a ram and its E-W-E, which female counterpart, seir v'seira, goat, a male and female goat, gedi v'gedia, a male and female kid, tlev v'talia, a male and female sheep. Harilei shor, if a person says, I'm going to bring an ox, so yavi hu nasacha b'mana. So you have to bring it, and also its nasachav, its libations, which should be a mana. Says Rashi, kach nisparesh dino b'tayra shabal peh. That's what it says in Torah shabal peh. That's the amount. Egel, if a person says, I'm planning on bringing an egel, so yavi hu nasachav b'chamesh. So in that situation, it's got to be at least 5 sloim. Ayil, you say I'm going to bring an ayil, a ram, so yavihu v'nesachav b'shtayim. It's got to at least be 2 sela. Keves, yavihu v'nesachav b'sela, 1 sela. Okay. Shor b'mana, let's say you make the declaration, I'm going to bring a shor, and it is going to cost me 1 mana, which, as we mentioned, if you say harilai shor, so we already know who v'nesachav b'mana. Notice the nesachim are included in that total calculation. But if you said the word shor b'mana, yavi b'mana, so the shor itself has to be worth a mana, chutz v'nesachav, which means the nesachav, its libations have to be more than that. Okay, because you specified shor b'mana, that the shor itself should be a mana. For that same reason, if you make a decoration egel b'chamesh, so yavi b'chamesh, so it has to be worth 5, chutz v'nesachav. The nesachim are going to be more than that. Since you said ayil b'shtayim, so for the same reason, yavi b'shtayim chutz b'nesachim. Again, you have to bring 2, and then the nesachim are more than that. And keves b'sela, yavi b'sela, chutz b'nesachim. So it's all the same idea, based on the language is what you're going to have to bring as far as minimum costs. Shor b'mana, if you said a shor for a mana, so which is what we said before, shor b'mana, the heavy shnai. So what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to bring the shor should be 1 mana, and not including the tzachim. Let's say the heavy shnai, you end up bringing 2 b'mana, 2 shor for only 1 mana total. Lo yatsa. even though you brought it for a mana, but that's assuming per this one shore. If you brought two, that's not what we're talking about. So even if each one was just like a penny less than the minimum amount, then you're not yatsa. And for that matter, shocher behevi lavan lavan behevi shocher go to behevi katan lo yatsa. If you say I was going to bring a white one or a black one and you reversed it, or I was going to bring a large one, you're going to bring a small one, you're not yatsa. However, katan behevi gadol yatsa Rabbi omer lo yatsa. So there's a machlokas as we saw previously that if you end up saying I'm going to bring a small one, you end up doing more. So you can say mar makam hulay, it's even better, right? Or you can say no, you didn't do in accordance to the neder that you made. V'lo pligi. So in reality, there's no argument. Marki atre, each one according to its city. Says Rashi. In other words, when the Mishnah said that what is the minimum amount when you say Harilai Oyla, so he says bring a kaves, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says bring a Torah ben Yaina. So apparently in Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's town, who's a very wealthy guy also, but happened to be in his town, a Torah ben Yaina was apparently even more expensive than a kaves, which is kind of hard to imagine. That's what it is. Says Rashi, Ba'ad the Tanakami Gari Kaves Ma'ov, Ba'ad Rabbi Elazar Gari Ov Mekaves. Okay. The fact that he says you bring a bird is because the bird is less than the keves, which actually makes more sense. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's town. The other way around, saying it's a keves is much, but the keves is less than the bird. Okay, all right, but it's not. It's just because it depends on whatever is the cheaper one. Tanaban Harilei Oyla. A person says, "I'm going to bring an Oyla Basela Mizbeach, and it's going to have the value of a sela, and I'm going to bring it to the Mizbeach." So Yavi keves. So he said you can bring a keves. Shein locha davar shekar basela legami Mizbeach el keves. We don't find anything to be makriv for the price of a sela to the mizbech except for a keves. Shikar b'sela because that's how much it could be worth. Pirash pirash. If you can't remember, yavi mikol davar shikar b'sela gami mizbech. Anything that is worth a sela, then that is how much. That's what we have to bring to the mizbech. Okay, let's just see one more little piece. Pirashti min habakar v'niudia ma pirashi yavi parba egel. So when it comes to an ola, it's a male, but it's also a bakar, it's camel, so it's going to be either a par or an egel. So why would you say that? Lacy par, just tell him that he should have to bring a par, and that's it. The Rabbi, the Amar Katan behevi gadol yatsa. The answer is because you could say if you made a smaller decoration, but you brought a bigger one, so that's even better. So just bring the par. If it's the par that you made the condition with, so you're bringing a bull. If it was actually a small animal, so fine, but still just all you did was bring the par. And the answer is according to Rabbi, he says you wouldn't be yotza like that. So Rabbi aim a seifa sure b'mana behevi shnayim b'mana yatsa. It says if you made a decoration of one shore for a mana and you end up bringing two for the same price, total, you're not yotzev. You feel zeba chaser dinner, even if it's the smallest amount. Shachar behevi lovin behevi shachar, gadol behevi katan lo yatsa. Katan behevi gadol yatsa, Rabbi omer lo yatsa. So what do we see? Reish of a seifa Rabbi. Right, the seifa, the last part is Rabbi. The umetziyasa rabbanan. Then we stick the rabbanan right in the middle. Does that make sense? Where's it in? Reish of a seifa Rabbi umetziyasa rabbanan. It happens a lot like that. We find many times that there's a machlokas in the middle, but it doesn't mean that the reish is not Rabbi. It is like Rabbi. That's the reason why you're not yatsa. That's the reason why you have to bring both a par and a egel. We're going to stop there. Question 2. Ha'imar ha'olah min habakar upirish par O egel, one more time. You said I'm going to bring an ola min habakar upiresh par o egel ve'eni odem ma pirish madina. So it's an interesting question. So it's only according to Rabbi it's not good. It's a machlok. It's a rabbana the kadam behevi gadol yatsa. Maybe par only, and you'll be yatsa b'manavshach. According to Rabbi, a cotton that if you made a decoration on the cotton, you brought a bigger one, lo yatsa, yavi par egel. That's why you need to bring both. So a very interesting twist, right? That it's true. It's actually not so clear. It's indeed a machlokas. Okay, TA27 no TB30.com.